All right, we are officially live with Ryan, Micah, and Uncle Brian, and I just had to tell these boys to keep it in line. Not really. That's like herding cats. So I
Yeah,
just kind of gave up all hope on that.
we do what we can.
Hey Brian, would you ever go to Catfish Conference?
Probably not, but
Would you rather go
if
to?
one of my partners was paying me to, then I might
No,
go.
no. It's got to be. Would you go? Just to go?
Why? What? But who would want to see me there, and why? To see
Well,
like
it's
my
not
6
about.
flathead pictures that I have over the last 10 years.
It's more of. Would you want to go?
Where?
Just
Well, it was in Kansas City a couple of years ago. Where is it now?
Louisville.
Mm,
I think they canned the Kansas City one, didn't they?
I mean, there's like four people.
They've
that
literally
showed up.
canned every Kansas City fishing expo worth anything over the last couple of years. So
It sucks because that's a hell of a lot closer than Louisville.
Yeah.
it's always just like such crappy weather, though. We
Well,
always
they
get
did
boned by like NFL playoffs or like bad weather, and that's what happened like the last 2 years of the Kansas City Fishing Expo. So,
Well, they did the catfish one during the rut. I'm like, that was not,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
well played.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean, you
dumb.
fit it in where you can fit it in, but all right, Brian.
there's
No.
only so many things that rednecks can fit into their schedule, and that's
You say that tongue in cheek,
chasing blues.
but there's some truth to that, especially because we got turkey season coming up, we got mushroom season coming up, we got crappies coming up, spring channel cats coming up. There just ain't enough time for all that shit.
Just
Agreed.
fish. Shut up and just fish. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard.
When have you ever shut up and just fished, Brian?
I certainly can.
Back to the original question, since I'm assuming you would never go to Catfish Conference. I feel like a lawyer because I'm only asking questions I know the answer to until now. Would you rather go to Catfish Conference on your own accord, have to pay for everything, drive there, whatever, for the rest of your life every year, or only guide for crappies for the rest of your life every day?
I would literally only rather guide for crappies every day. That's
Okay.
nothing against catfish, but
It is Catfish and Crappie Conference.
oh well.
Oh.
So I make money. I make money guiding for panfish. I don't make money sitting and talking to a bunch of people about cut shad and cut white bass and whatever Spencer told me that was
Cut
good for
crappie
catfish
works
when we
well.
tried.
Mm.
Yeah, crap. Like, dude, 15, 16-inch crappies, a whole one even. Ooh, big catfish.
I've done it like 4 or 5 times.
I bet you have. Throwing a big largemouth, baby, I tell you what, fish gonna be good.
They look pretty on a 12-aught,
Big
but
spotted bass, maybe too.
never used a spot.
Oh, I thought you have.
No, I did. Hey, we did catch our first mean mouth. I had a client catch a mean mouth on Monday. First
I
one.
like a good meanie.
I think it is. I think it is.
I'm sure if you said that it is, then it probably is. It's kind of like believing everything you read on the internet. It's definitely true.
By the pictures, it looked like one because I've caught several here.
Yeah.
So
I love it, dude. I think I've only ever caught 2 in my
4
life.
people suggesting that that's what it is. It looked kind of like a smallmouth, but not. It looked kind of like a spotted bass, but not.
It's a cool fish.
Sounds like a mean mouth.
It's having identity crisis.
Yeah, but we get a lot more of them around here just for the simple fact of just we've got an abundance that breed next to each other. So I say a bunch. Like I've probably caught a couple dozen over the last, I don't know, probably 8-10 years.
That's a couple dozen more than I've ever seen in my life until Monday.
Yeah. There's probably more out there. You don't target them, so you don't catch as many.
No. It's about time to start the white bass beat down here, though.
He just takes them out of his cast net and throws them in the bait cooler, and no one's gonna know.
I just throw them right in the skillet, right in the grease.
Well, guys, we caught a Chan man off camera and I just cleaned it up, and this is what we're having for lunch today.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's a freaking mean mouth.
That'd be almost believable if they weren't so easy to catch.
You just throw a Ned rig at them.
Dude, you throw it.
Maybe.
Well, all right. So I say they're easy to catch, but then that's why it's so frustrating the days you go out and they're not easy to catch.
Chans, we're talking.
Yeah. Have you ever had a tough Chan day, Ryan?
When they're supposed to be or not supposed to be where they are.
Yeah.
You go to the spot, you're like, they're stacked up here and there's nothing.
Yeah.
You got to move like 5 spots to find them.
Yeah, that's frustrating because like, especially during flathead season, because like you go flathead fishing, you expect it to be tough. And then you want to take a break from flathead to chase channels. And then I expect it to be the easiest thing in the world. And then sometimes it's not.
That's when you hook under your flathead.
Yeah, no shit. Kyle's ready for spoonbills hybrids. You gonna go, Micah? You're going spoonbill fishing, ain't you?
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Lake of the Ozarks. Would that be April? I think it is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty fun time.
Brian, you ever went spooning?
No, I always told myself it was something I'd do once, but
spooning leads to flipping.
Like, nah.
We went spoonbill fishing for about an hour.
Was it even that long?
I don't know, long enough to catch 250s and turn around and go back to the dock.
Yeah, you caught one, Sam caught one, and then Jason looked at me and asked me, and I'm like, nah, I've seen enough of those things, man.
Well, see that the last day that I was in Missouri last year, we were again we were out there probably 30 minutes. I hung a 60 and a 70, and that was it. Time to go home, clean them. I mean, it was fun. It was a fun 30 minutes.
To clean fish than to catch them.
Yeah, it took us from where I was staying to where the lake is. It was about an hour and 10-minute drive. So the gas, the drive, there and back for 30 minutes of fun. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was still a lot of fun. But like, because once you catch your 2, that's it. You're done. You got to get off. But
then it's beer time.
Yeah. But then, of course, the cleaning, that took a couple hours afterwards because, I realized them spoonbill that are on the lake portion, they're just so fatty, and you got to trim a lot of that off or it tastes like crap.
I think it tastes like crap anyway.
Oh, when we grilled it up fresh, it was pretty good.
Spoonbill is the second to the bottom of the list of fish that I would eat but don't want to eat. Just a little smidgen above trout.
I was gonna say shad, just below it.
I've never eaten a shad, so I don't know. I'll have to try one sometimes.
It's the next viral catch and cook video right there.
Right.
I don't even know if Josh has done that yet.
You should take your fancy boat with the big screen TV on the front to Lake of the Ozarks and go live scope you 150 pounder.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Did you get an NVT on the front of that yet?
Sea Light makes a 16 and a 22, and they're one of my partners. So I had the 22 6 months ago before they put it on the market. They had the 16 on the market, but they sent me the 22 and it was still prototyped, and that's the one that I have now. So I mean, it's same thing, same concept. I don't think there's any difference, honestly.
Did it slow your boat down, or so it takes
when the stowaway mount is all the way up, I probably lose like a mile and a half an hour. But
so it takes you 45 seconds to get to your spot instead of 35 seconds.
It will. Well, yeah. I mean, with the new boat, because I just ordered a new boat last week. So,
ooh, what'd you get?
2075 Pro V with a 300 on the back. So went from 1875 to 2075, and that's gonna be my forever boat. that's what we say, but
every time, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I want to stay married, then, yeah. So.
You'll love the room, and then you'll love the ride when you go to Green Bay or go up north.
Yeah. I've never had anything bigger than 18 3/4, call it 19. So it was time. And now with the potential of the tariffs hitting the aluminum industry, then I mean, boat prices aren't getting any cheaper as it is. I mean, my boat that I've traded up for the last 2 years this year, and the boat price without any Trump tariffs have gone up 10%. So then you throw the potential for the aluminum tariffs hitting the boat market, and then it'll be like a 20% markup. So I got scared and I said, "Oh, honey, I have to get a new boat.
Now is the time." Damn you, Trump.
And she said, "Okay." And I said, "Okay."
Way to battle with logic. I feel so. There's 3 of us on this right now that are getting a new boat this spring.
Yeah.
I'd love to join you. I really would. I don't know what else I'd get though.
It sounds like you better.
For
or
what
you
I
get some-
do, I don't know what I'd get. I kind of got the perfect boat for my situation.
I just got pizza delivery. That's almost as good as a new boat. The only way your boat would be sweeter, man, would be if it had a full windshield, but it wouldn't work very well with the full windshield because you got to balance. You got to have the balance on your boat.
Yeah. And now they'll be running more trips out of it this year. I may be making some adjustments, but for the past, what have I had it? 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that.
A little longer than that, haven't you? 3?
Maybe 3. Yeah. It's been pretty top notch for what I need it for.
Yeah, you're not doing anything like crazy big water, so you'd be stupid for getting anything else.
Yeah. Now, if I start doing more channel cat trips at that lake down south, I may reinvest in my old Lund from Kinsey that I sold him.
Kyle says he feels blessed with his kayak, but he's ready for a boat. Don't think like that, man.
It's like growing up. You always, when you're a kid, you think, "Oh, I just can't wait to grow up." Don't do it.
No, I'll never get rid of my kayak because the only way, I mean, a boat can break down and sometimes you have money to fix it. Sometimes you don't, unless you guide out of it, then you better find money to fix it. But the kayak's always going, man.
Or just remember, if you take care of your boat when you guide full time, it will take care of you, and then you won't have to worry about fixing it.
Anything that works.
That's a good point.
Sooner or later, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Something small. Something that
Says the guy who gets a new boat every year. Of course, nothing
Wow.
big happen.
great. Now everybody in the chat's gonna be like, must be nice. Who's this dickhead?
They already got the second one.
Yeah.
When you run almost 300 trips a year in your pro staff for the boat company, typically you flip a boat every year, and that's just the way that it is in the fishing industry. And everyone, like, especially in the mid-South here, is like, "Oh my god, what the hell? We just got one." But you go to Wisconsin, it's like commonplace to you flip a boat every year when you run 250 to 300 trips a year. And that's just the way it is.
Oh, you're getting trolled in the comment section, Ryan. You can't get a bigger boat. You won't be able to see over the windshield. Ella and I were talking about this earlier today. It's like kind of funny how everybody I fish with is short. I mean, I'm not like crazy tall, and I'm like towering over everybody I fish. I mean, I had my buddy Rob up here last week, and he's like 5'6". He's just fitting in with everybody else.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to find you guys some phone books so you can sit on them when you're driving your new boats.
I don't need to see. I just nail it and go.
You can always stand up.
You hit a log, you just go the other way.
And maybe more geared for the tiller life, you know?
I miss the tiller life sometimes until it's
Me
30
too.
degrees out. Then I don't miss it anymore.
Yeah, me too. Like if I could have like a 21 or a 2075 tiller with a 250, like power steering or hydraulic, I don't remember which one it is. That would be fun. That'd be fun until it's not fun.
Yeah, as long as it's warm, it's fun.
Yeah.
But if it's under 50, you better have a set of gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Mercury makes a heated tiller steer now.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's freaking sweet.
But
One
I mean,
more
at the
thing
same
to break.
Right.
Like, yeah, no shit. But I mean, it's like you go out on a rough day and everybody's wearing rain gear, not because it's raining. It's because you just know that if you hit the waves wrong and you suck at driving, you're probably going to get wet. Even if you're great at driving, you're still going to get wet.
Yeah.
Tom Boley and his 2035 Warrior fiberglass tiller still gets soaking ass wet. So I'm not going to spend 135K on a fiberglass tiller to be like Tom when I'm just going to get wet. I like my windshield.
Even with the tariff on aluminum boats feel like a discount compared to a fiberglass boat. Because like,
yeah,
you look at a bass boat and they don't look like there's that much to them. And then you look at the price tag and you're like, 110,000 boat motor trailer. Could buy like two of the boats or almost three of the boats that like what I'm getting. What I'm getting is like a third the price.
That's like, and that's new pricing too. I mean, you could buy a Ranger 621 for $30,000 less than what you could buy a brand new Warrior for. It's all like, I'm just a boat nerd, so I like know the numbers like that. I mean, it seems silly for me to spend what I'm spending even with a pro staff discount on an aluminum boat, but for where I live and where I guide and the size of the lakes that I guide on, fiberglass doesn't really make sense. And I go to Green Bay twice a year, so my 20-foot aluminum boat can handle that water. But if I lived on Green Bay, big water, it'd be a different story. But yeah, I mean, it's like from Ranger, Warrior, Triton, Yarcraft, the prices are all, you know, wildly different. But if you just went down 10 years to like a 2015 to 2018 style aluminum, or I'm sorry, fiberglass boat, you could, you know, spend 60K and a brand new one's like 145K.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's outrageous.
Spending $60,000 on a used boat just seems absurd to me.
That's a lot for a used boat.
Except I'm about to post mine up for 55, so maybe it's not that crazy.
I mean, dude,
yeah, it's not 60. You're good.
I posted my 2024 1875 Pro V. What is it now? 4 days ago. Like I had my dealer posted on their website just because that goes to Boat Trader. But then he joked with me. He's like, "Oh, you ready for the Facebook comments?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna post it on like my guide page." But then I was like, "Well, I should probably just like post it in the, you know, walleye boats for sale and all the other groups." And I posted it for what the dealer had it listed as. And within 12 hours, I was getting reamed in the comments and like laugh reacts. And like I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But that's how it is with everybody that lists their boat, especially nowadays. It's like,
it could be for $5,000 and somebody's going to fucking jump down their throat.
100%.
Guaranteed.
So it's like, I was like, okay, this is getting really bad. I'm probably going to delete it. And then guess what? Within 48 hours, one of my regular clients brought me a deposit check for the boat and the boat sold in less than 48 hours. So I was like, all these other fuckers can laugh at whatever. And guess what? There's still going to be somebody that's going to pay what you're asking for it. Because number one, it's worth what I'm asking for it. So, yeah.
I mean, it's worth whatever somebody will pay for it. And if somebody pays for it, then it's worth it.
That's the verbiage I was trying to use. So
I'm fueling my brain right now. So I'm here for it.
Fuel up, bud.
I am too.
I got some catching up to do.
But so to your point, Spencer, what you were talking about before, like when you were talking about kayaks. So my wife and I were sitting down here in the basement like 2 or 3 nights ago, and I was watching one of the last videos that you posted with Micah. And I was like on my phone or something, and she was like, "Wait, is that Spencer?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, you've met Spencer several times." And she's like, "Well, I thought he just had a kayak." And I'm like, "No, he's got a regular boat too."
That was
she was
Spencer
like, so does he only like, when does he use his regular boat versus kayak? Like, is it only when he comes down here to do stuff? And I'm like, well, I mean, that's the beauty of having both, is that you could go fish the Missouri on your regular boat, but then when you want to come fish the Kansas and do a float, you've got the kayak. Can't realistically do that in the boat that you have now without, you know, a jet motor. So
right. No,
like,
there's
advantages to both.
There's no perfect boat. There's no perfect kayak. I mean, some kayaks and boats that can do a lot of things, but there's nothing that can do everything well. And to Michael Lackey's point, he says, I completely understand big money on a guide boat, but I'm getting my first family friendly fishing boat this year, Lund 1700, staying under 10K, man. If you ain't making money with that thing, that's the way to do it, because it's a terrible investment from a financial standpoint, a wonderful investment from a good time, which, you know, that's the goal for it. So unless that machine is making you money, like there's no point in spending a pile of money on it unless you got a pile of money.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, as a full-time guide, it's just heightening the client's experience that, you know, first timer, even regulars, they're pumped. They're like excited. They're like, oh my God, I would never be able to be in this boat otherwise if I wasn't on this guide trip, or not even something they could potentially see at a boat show down here.
It makes it into an experience.
Right.
You know,
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Same with the electronics and live scope and stuff too. It's like, it's just part of the experience. You can say
the enclosure and diesel heater. Like, my boat has a heater and enclosure, you know, like how many boats do you hop in where you're fishing in a cabin with the heater running?
Yeah.
One, at least one.
You're dreading the trip, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's 70 degrees in here.
Right.
Yeah.
and that fixes the problem of people not dressing for the weather, because most people don't dress for the weather. But if you take that out of the equation, then it's not a problem.
Yep.
And back to the old boat part. If you buy an old boat and put a new motor on it, you know, you're going to save a hell of a lot of money versus buying a brand new rig, and you know, you're going to get the same response out of it. So,
yeah. I mean, especially depending on the boat manufacturer, especially in the aluminum world, Lund specifically, you get past a certain point year wise and it's still got a wood transom, and you got to replace that. And that's, you know, if you have it professionally done, that's like $3,500 to $5,000, depending on the boat. And it's like, even still post 20, I don't remember. I don't want anyone to quote me. They went to composite transoms. And then after that, it's like, you're cherry. You don't have to worry about the transom, and
the floor,
even if there is a leak, like it's got a leaky rivet. Guess what? My dad always said when he was still alive, it's an aluminum boat. It may leak. You know, it's like, that's what you got to build your pump for.
Yeah. Make sure your pump works and you're good.
Yeah.
But I had an 87 Lund for about 4 or 5 years, and that thing never had a drop on it. The only time I pulled the plug and it ever had water come out was when it rained on us for like 4 hours straight.
Yeah. Or if like the live well spills over, or something weird like that. It's never anything like super nefarious, like something's wrong with it. But I'm not saying anything bad about old boats, because up until 3 years ago, that's all I ever had were used boats that I paid for in full. That's why I don't bust ice for crappies anymore, because I did that with boats that were already paid for, that were older. And now with the new ones, like, no, I'm not that mad at the crappies in the wintertime.
Sure. Well, on another note, other than boats, kayaks, the most excited I've been for a kayak in a long time, which I bought it 2 years ago, but I forgot it, or I didn't forget it. I left it down south because I didn't have enough room to bring it back with me. And it was low man on the totem pole because I had a kayak in Iowa to use. But I got this thing, or the kayak, called a Crescent Primo. It's like $600 or $700 brand new. It's 11 feet long, weighs 55 pounds, and has like a 325 pound weight capacity.
Sit inside?
Sit on top.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. And like, I can carry it on my shoulder, man. Like, so launching that thing in places without boat ramps is going to be awesome. And I'm stoked on that.
Yeah, you kind of got the wide variety of kayaks. You got the big luggers that are for bigger water, and then you got your small river kayaks. I just make mine do everything. Say screw it.
I only have two. You made it sound like I have a fleet.
How many of you
I
have?
was like, what is he talking about? How many does he have? He's got the new canoe.
I've tried a bunch.
In the last 2 years, you've probably had 6, 8.
3.
Oh,
I had a Crescent Primo, Got that one. I got a Crescent Shoaly and a New Canoe Frontier. Those are my kayaks. And
At one time, you had a 10-footer, you had a 12-footer, you had the purple one.
That's Ella's. That doesn't count.
Oh, shit. Ella's got 5, but I only have 2.
My guy has a kayak. It's just never seen water. It might not even
No,
float.
it's seen water. I took it out and played with it a little bit. Now it's sitting on the shelf, but it's seen water.
Has it caught a fish? Has it seen slime?
Well, I mean, that's a fact. It has not.
See, you need to bring that thing up north, and we'll put you on some fish.
Well, I told you if we, like you were talking about floating the Kansas, I would do it as long as if I fall in, I can stand up in most places.
I have that issue.
There.
There's most places I cannot touch.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you're like 5'4", so.
Yeah.
I just been on a boat my whole life, so I will get into it, but it's going to take me time.
You can't walk around in it. That's all. You just got to remind yourself. Just sit in one spot. You'll be fine.
I don't know. I just know that, like we were talking about, me and you were talking about, catching big fish off of it. That's my only fear, Hank, because it'd be my luck. I'll hang into a big one, and there I am in his element trying to fight him.
But if you're in open water, it's no big deal because they just take.
Well, you say that. Everybody says that. It's no big deal. I got it. I understand. Keep your shoulders within the inside. All that. I got it. But in the heat of the moment, everything that's not a big deal will become a big deal with me. I promise. It may take me a few times to learn my lesson, but
yeah, you just kind of let them take you wherever they want to go, and then you reel yourself to the fish. Then you just fight them straight.
I think I'm going to take Spencer's approach. My first kayak fishing trip, we had to go catch like sharks. Just
so everything else is
sharks.
Just baptism by fire, buddy.
Yeah.
The number one thing, keep your head in the middle because your body will go wherever your head goes. So if you lean over the side, you're going over the side. Just stay centered.
So I think that should be the first trip because then after that, everything will just seem simple.
I mean, it worked for me.
Yeah, but you're also
we'll
a very
take him to some small
wide-bodied individual, like just got that wrestler, stance about you, even when you're sitting. It's like,
which should be,
I'd be fucked. I'd be halfway downstream with a 75-pounder.
that should be a disadvantage because I'm kind of top heavy. I'm kind of top heavy, so that should be a disadvantage, right?
That's what I'm saying. You're top heavy, so you're just like you just lean right into them and you've got control of them. Me, it's like I'm gone, and I'm tall, but
that'd be me too.
Yeah, like I have no shame in saying like I'd be totally.
It's
screwed.
fine. It's no big deal.
I've never fished out of a kayak, so there's that. I'm not above it. I just have never done it, and that's
so Brian.
I'd be screwed.
Yeah, Brian, I'm right with you. I've never fit. I've floated down a river one time in one, but that was about it. And then even then, it didn't turn out very well.
Yeah, I go catch like white bass in the spring, crappies, whatever. But
now I need to get both of you guys out there.
We need a weekend trip, is what we need.
We need to take this podcast out on the river
on the road.
Campfire.
That would be I'm surprised you haven't done that yet. Like a sand island podcast.
Because I don't want to haul the shit around. That's literally all it is. I don't want to haul a freaking set of microphones and recorder and then all that stuff around. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
True.
I did some on the boat a few times, but they didn't turn out very good. The audio sucked.
Yeah.
Because of wind and shit like that. But I didn't care. I wanted to fish. And it was podcast day, so we did them on the boat.
Yeah.
That's why I would never do that, because all I want to do is fish.
Yeah.
Production
they're in why I have never done that. So Brian, do you have any suggestions for preferred rigs for channel cats? That was a question last week.
Me?
Well, obviously not, I guess. Sorry. Ryan. Right. I said Brian.
Oh, well, I was
Ryan.
like, did he say Brian or Ryan?
I thought he said Brian too. I thought maybe you were a closet channel cat guy.
No, I mean, okay. So here, I will answer the question based on my experience. In June, some of the like hard bottom areas, like in the deep water that we normally fish for, like wipers and white bass and stuff, those channel cats spawn hard on that stuff. Like
real hard.
Dude, you'll live scope looks like, snaky, like what Josh would say, like wigglers down there.
Can you see the channel cat semen on the live scope?
Potentially. I can taste it.
Water is milky.
No, I'm asking about rigs. The guy wanted to know what rigs to use for channel cats. Apparently,
again, that's what I'm getting at is because you posed that question to me as a open water game fish angler who does not fish or guide for catfish, but catches a lot of them and big ones by accident. I know the areas that they live. The easiest time that we can catch a big channel or lots of them in rapid succession is with a jigging wrap or a spoon. And and here in Kansas, specifically the lake that I guide on, there's still a couple of good old boys that like their bean holes. Okay. Maybe we've talked about the bean holes on a podcast.
We've never talked about the bean holes on here, and I've never referred to them. I never heard them referred to as bean holes, but now that I've heard that, they will forever be bean holes.
Fermented soybeans. Okay. Yeah. These guys go out. They've been doing it for eons, decades, centuries even. They just bring their 5-gallon bucket of fermented soybeans, dump them over the side on a spot, come back a couple hours later. Who do you think's waiting there? A shitload of big chans and white bass and whoever else. And it's like as fast as you can catch those things. Granted, again, these are all like on humps, hard spots.
They're adjacent anyway. It just concentrates them. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's always in the summer. It's always hot. Like that is my backup plan for tough summer guide trips, like for wipers, walleyes, white bass, or whatever, are just going to these spots that have these spawning channel cats. Like, granted, they're all males. They got like the big butt head. I call them butt heads, the big divot, like those big ugly suckers. And they're all marked up and they're like super skinny and just like nasty looking. But any like aggressive jigging wrap or jigging spoon you get in front of them, you don't even lead live scope. You just cast to them, set up off the spot and cast to them. It's a fun bite. Like if I actually wanted to clean 20 channel cats for 2 clients, 10 a piece here, which like, fuck you. I'm not cleaning 20 channel cats. Sorry. I'll hire somebody else.
Cleaning a channel cat's just as easy as cleaning a walleye.
I know. I just don't like doing it. I don't like having them in my live well.
That's fair. That's fair.
But anyway, again, so my rig on the summertime spawning channel cats is 10-pound braid, 15-pound braid, 20-pound braid, doesn't matter. And then when I'm throwing a spoon or a jigging wrap, I always make sure to put a small barrel swivel in between my braid and my fluorocarbon, because throwing a spoon and a jigging wrap, whether you're casting it or dropping it vertical, those suckers spin so bad and it will spin your braid out. Even though braid doesn't have memory, it will still twist your braid. And you can verify that by like dropping it down to bottom, reeling it up, and then grabbing your line and then running your fingers down your line, and you see the bait spin like that. So I always make sure to put a tiny little barrel swivel between my braid and my fluorocarbon, but typically we're doing like 15 to 20-pound fluorocarbon, because that will prevent your treble hook on the jigging wrap or the big spoon from tangling up, as you're ripping it and stuff and it's fluttering down. So I always upgrade my treble hooks, but yeah, it's a fun bite. You don't even need a piece of meat on it. You don't need crappie or white bass or shad or anything. They're just,
You just got to piss them off.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
They're
I was
usually just like
probably-
swallowing it's like everything I can do to get the bait out of their mouth too. So, and there's lots of them. It's fun.
I was totally expecting you to like brush the question off and then we'd move on to somebody else to answer it. But that was actually like really well thought out and helpful. So
Yeah.
thanks, Uncle Brian.
It's a great time to catch channels. Like I said, on slick, calm, hot, like bug hatch, the shad just hatched. So it's like all the other fish in the lake all they have to do is swim around with their mouth open. But then you've got the spawning channel cats. And it's like, if somebody just needs a bent rod, which as fishing guides, that's ultimately the goal. I'm not above just being like, I know we can go to the Chan Man spot and
That's right. We're going Chan Town.
catch them on a spinning rod. It's not like, set lines or anything. And you can do it on live scope and it's fun and kind of is the same thing as if it were a game fish type situation. So there's my answer.
Well,
So no one's like, oh, Mr. Brian is back on the podcast and he's above everything. He's above bank fishing.
the only one who says that's me, Brian. So get over yourself. But hey, we'll come back to the rigging question where we talk about like actual catfish rigs where you want to just sit and relax and not actually have to work.
That's outside of my wheelhouse. So
Michael
my
asked a
friend,
question that is inside your wheelhouse. Talking about live scope, what would be a good beginner live scope setup?
Man, I feel like the prices on everything have come down significantly in the last couple of years. And I feel like obviously that's because like Garmin has new stuff coming out. But even as the entry level person, I mean, whenever live scope first came out, I didn't run it for like the first year just because I wanted to kind of see where things went. And like people that have followed my channel forever that hopefully are not watching this same podcast will always have receipts of me saying, I don't need live scope. I don't need live scope, whatever. I can do it with 2D sonar. But that was only because I was not in a position to be able to purchase it. And that was like 6-7 years ago. And that was like well before I was like on Garmin's pro staff and stuff. And then I got it. And that was like, I started with like a 93 SV, the EchoMap 93 SV, which like 2-3 years ago was like the staple for the entry level person to get into live scope as far as like the graph is concerned. So then you've got like that paired with like the LVS 32, which now is going to become outdated technology with the LVS 34, the 62, and then whatever they have coming out at ICAST this next summer. So I would say right now, though, I mean, obviously you can get a 93 SV, the EchoMap 93 SV for like $350 to $500, depending on who's selling it. So there's your graph. And then you can get the LVS 32. And again, this is like very, lower echelon type setup for less than $1,100, $1,200. And I'm just shooting in the dark. So hope nobody comes for me in the comments. But if you were going to do it the right way, I would suggest going with an EchoMap Ultra 106 or 126. So that's a 10-inch unit or a 12-inch unit. And the reason is because the 93 only has one network port on the back of the unit. So that only allows you to have live scope hooked up to it. And that's it. But if you jump up to the 106 Ultra or the 126 Ultra, you then have two network ports on the back of the unit. So that allows you to have live scope into the back of the unit, as well as another network port to be able to link two units together. So that seems more practical from my standpoint, from somebody who's like willing to spend the money, but not willing to spend like, $6, $7, $8 or whatever, to where you can get two 106 Ultras, link them both together, and then have live scope on one. And then if you really wanted to get silly, you could put live scope on the rear to, have one on the front, one on the back. So that would be my entry level live scope setup for somebody. So you've got, but I would not go smaller than a 93. And even now, and this sounds bad coming from me, obviously, because like of the size of the units that I run, the 93 just is so small. But it's
perspective's still powerful on that, though, because you look at a 16 or 22-inch screen and suddenly a 9-inch screen looks like itty bitty, but if you've never got used to looking at the giant screens, then it's no big deal. But to mirror what you're saying, I had the 93 SV with the 32 whatever LVS 32 transducer for a long time, and it's a legit combo, like a legit setup, and you can use it for ice fishing, and then you can transfer it to a boat or a kayak. I even saw a video where a dude had one rigged up for bank fishing, which was kind of neat. It was on like a tripod deal. But yeah, they're versatile. To add to that,
I think too, it's more of like the 93 SV is great, but then again, when you go to the 106 or the 126, that's a completely different processor. So like think of it as a computer with more memory.
Well, we're just talking about getting into the game, though.
No, like, I know. I'm trying to throw all angles at everybody while they're like fresh in my head, and even if that means I have to interrupt your train of thought. So
all right, I have a notebook.
I like a faster processor because there's no lag. When you're jigging or anything, it's not like a Lowrance active target, which I feel like maybe they've come a little bit as far as their transducers are concerned, but that was like the lowest of the low as far as Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, live imaging. It was like Garmin will always run the live imaging market. Like every brand has their niche, and Garmin will always have that. Humminbird came out with their Mega Live 2, and that it's gotten better. I wouldn't say it's still live scope, but then Lowrance, you've still just got what it is. And that's just people are brand specific, and they're going to stay with what they want to stay with. So
I have the Lowrance active target too, and it's pretty legit. It really is. There's not much lag on that. What I don't like about the active target 2 is the cone is so much more narrow than the Garmin. So it's so easy.
You know how many degrees it is? Is it less than 20 degree cone?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you start at the transducer?
I think it's 14. I think that'd be something worth Googling.
That's like 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah. It's significant especially when you're using small baits. It's pretty significant, which if I'm fishing with it, I'm probably crappie fishing most of the time. But with all
what about when you got those like crazy, like 3, 4, 5 jig skipjack rigs that you're always casting up by dams and stuff? Same thing, or do you not worry about live imaging at that point?
I don't use it at all. Because if they're there, they're going to eat most of the time. And if they're not eating, then they're not there, and you just keep moving. At least that's what I found. I know guys that do use live imaging for them, and it probably plays more in the deep water stuff. Like if you're dredging, they call it for skips. But that's not something I really play around with too much. When they go deep, I just switch to shad mostly, and I'll stumble across a few when I'm crappie fishing or white bass fishing. And they just go in the cooler then. Or I'll run up to Micah's house because skipjack are easy there.
There you go.
They got that pattern that you got them on over there has to play out in my neck of the woods. I just haven't spent the time or woken up early enough to see if it plays out.
It will. You just like you said, you just have to get out there and do it and find them little spots where they hang out at.
Mm-hmm. Well, back to the channel cat rigs, and I'm going to go grab another beer. Ryan, what's your go-to channel cat rig? Or what do you think's the best?
Keep it simple. I mean, I mainly have switched over to circle hooks for channel cat just because you can sit back, drink a beer, and they hook themselves. But, I mean, sometimes you use a slip bobber and chase the current along the rip wrap. Sometimes you just throw an egg sinker above a swivel and let her sit there, especially in the spring when the ice out channel cats are going nuts. I just simply little half-ounce egg sinker, put a swivel to keep it up off your hook, and sit back and have fun. Enjoy the spring. You just keep it simple. Channel cat aren't a very hard to target, I guess, fish, because a lot of times they're aggressive. A lot of times they're in big numbers. So, I mean, if you're looking for the bigger channel cat, you got to get a little more specific. But if you just want to put them in the boat, it's pretty wide open.
Carolina rigs, the end.
Yeah.
If it's deep or fast current, use a bigger sinker. If you're targeting 10-pounders, or if you're targeting big ones, use a bigger hook. Smaller ones, use a smaller hook. Diane.
Keep your bait fresh.
Yep.
Once in a while, put a float on it so it
Yeah.
comes up the water column a little bit.
Yeah, if you're dragging or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Those? That's what I was gonna ask. Like you wouldn't use like those bobber looking things on your line that like have the different patterns on them.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, like I said, when I go catfishing, I keep it pretty simple.
We should ask Tyson, like Tyson Emery. He just commented he might be the greatest channel cat fisherman Illinois has ever seen, and possibly the galaxy.
Does Illinois see some pretty big channels?
Certain places, but he pretty much owns the Mississippi River.
I was gonna say I feel like it's a Mississippi type thing.
So if you ever fish the Mississippi, make sure you ask Tyson for permission before you target channel cats.
And the answer is always no.
Yeah. Leave his friends alone. The first big tournament I ever fished out of my boat, it was him and his buddies, and they run their mouth a whole bunch. And I can't remember if it was him or Ryan but they were doing side bets, and I was like, yeah, I'll throw $50 in. I didn't beat them. They won the goddamn tournament. Like I never stood a chance.
Easiest $50 I ever made.
Yeah.
With all channels?
Yeah, I think so. I think they caught like a 17
all
pounder or some shit like that. No, them guys are.
That's pretty clutch in a
I
tournament.
think they might have won every single tournament I've ever fished against them.
Maybe you're their good luck charm.
Yeah, maybe. I won't be there this summer for all of them, and then maybe they'll get second or something. We'll see. Micah, what booths are you going to be at Catfish Conference?
Man, every one of them. I'll be at the Mad Cats one for sure. I'll be at the Carolina Lake Weights for sure. Tackle Bandit. I'll be at every one of them.
That's I'm gonna hold you to that because there's only like 160 booths. So,
well, okay, so
all the ones that support him.
Yeah. So I would say there's probably going to be at least 20 booths there that I'll be at.
Okay. Well, it'll be really easy to find Micah. He's going to be somewhere, maybe. If you want to see me, I'll either be browsing, walking around, but for the most part, I'll be at Catch the Fever quite a bit. Destination Unknown Outdoors with my kayak. I'm hauling my kayak up there. It's dirty, so don't judge me on that too much. Actually, if you want to, my shit gets used. So
when has it ever been clean?
When I bought it,
Yeah.
I was gonna rinse it off today, but it was 30 degrees out and my hose is frozen, so I kind of put a kink in that. But
it's 30 degrees in Iowa.
What's that?
You're in Iowa?
No, I'm in Bama.
Oh my God. I was going to say, I was like, it's been like 3 degrees in Kansas. So if it's 30 in Iowa, what the hell?
No, yesterday morning it was -18 real temp and felt like -30.
Yeah, it's been bad here.
That's pretty good. Eventually they're gonna have a cardboard cutout of Micah so he can be everywhere at once.
That show he should be getting paid double then at that point if he's being everywhere at once.
It might be a good investment to make it yourself.
Yeah.
When we play Where's Micah?
Probably can't miss the beard though. Well, at Catfish Conference, I feel like he could get lost in the crowd of good beards. But
beards are bad.
Yeah, there's a few of them walking around.
Yeah.
I have to sacrifice my beard to the catfish gods to catch a big fish.
That's not true. That's not true at all. We proved that when we went to Naked Jack.
That's not proof. That's one time in my whole goddamn life.
It's science, damn it.
No.
Spencer's pretty easy to find wherever he goes with the Cubs hat.
Oh yeah, touche.
And the ugly face, but mainly the Cubs hat.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Well, if he's got those little 6-inch shorts on, you can't miss those thighs.
That's true. And they're really white right now. So
I was gonna say, especially this time of
They're
year.
light.
I'm like, fucking Spencer shorts keep getting shorter and shorter. So it's like you got the Crocs.
Well, he's
and the
had him
short
since
shorts.
junior high. He just keeps growing.
I was editing our videos from our trip, Micah, and that was the first time I'd wore shorts in months. And the first thing I noticed was my face is like reddish, tannish, but my legs are like ghostly white. The sun
I came back
washes them out at times. They're so white.
I actually came back with a tan, so I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's the first tan of the year is always pretty good feeling.
I don't tan.
Nice. It looked really nice in those videos. Looked really nice and comfortable and warm.
It was great.
Wipers down there, bud, and stripers.
It was great because we were sitting there like debating because Spencer had a friend of his we were going to stay at, and I was like, man, let's just keep camping. It was just awesome weather. Even at night, it was awesome.
I was going to say, I feel like at night it'd be just perfect.
Oh, it was absolutely perfect.
It fluctuates more than you'd think. There, for whatever reason, the air gets dry in the winter, and you'll have like 25 to 30, like Midwest temp swing. So it'll be like 80 during the day and then 50 something at night. But you get a good campfire going, and even if you have a little chill, it's pretty freaking nice. And then the bugs aren't bad either. They're bad right when the sun goes down, and then it's over.
Yeah.
That is the one thing I'm looking forward to for 2025. One of my clients asked me, he's like, what's the one thing you're really looking forward to for this year besides your new boat? And I'm like, aside of the new boat, I'm just looking forward to the fact that like we don't have 74 bug hatches between like mid-May and July, August with all these hard freezes. Like the midge flies, mayflies are one thing. Midge flies or pecker gnats are the worst. And we didn't have that the last 2, 3, 4 years, like a really good hard freeze. So
I recently
if the wind doesn't blow, the pecker gnats in the morning are almost unbearable, depending on the lake you're at around here. Like and it affects the fishing too, especially walleyes. Like I said, all they got to do is swim around with their mouth open. And when the mayflies and the midge flies hatch at the same time, it's like, might as well just fucking stay home.
They just turn into whales. Just swim around.
Literally. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I learned recently that there's some companies, which I don't know which one, I'm going to look into it more, that they'll build you an enclosure for your boat and offer the option of bug screen sides, like bug screen mesh sides.
Yeah, so it's got air coming in. It's not like a regular
type thing like I'm getting that, Spence, on my boat. I'm getting that.
Are you going to mid-mow for that?
No, it's that Amish guy I was telling you about here in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-season room for your boat.
Exactly. Well, it's like it turns your boat into a mobile tent.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm going to, because that we talked that I'm going to do a lot of camping on the boat this year, fishing and stuff overnight. But because we talked about it, and they make a mesh that he could use and build it right in to where it snaps in just like the enclosure would. So that's happening. That's definitely happening.
That's rule 1.
Well, that's what I'm going to work towards. I don't have big money like Micah does, so I might have to work my way up.
I don't. I surely don't. I got a good wife that knows how to save money. So
and I know how to spend it.
I definitely know how to spend it.
Yeah.
So this will be my third boat in 5 years. So she just like you, Brian. This is my last one. Last one I'll buy. I don't know if it'll be the last one I pay for, but it's the last one I buy.
Yeah. God bless our wives.
Right.
Half the man that I am now for.
Brian Fander wants to know what boat you're getting, Micah.
Well, yeah. So I'm getting the G3 2100 Sportsman is what I'm getting.
Fast.
Yeah. That was
oh yeah.
With a
who
Yami?
was that we fished at Texoma on the G3?
That's Spuds. He had a 2400,
Yeah.
and I think his had a 250, and we were easy cruising at 52 with 3 dudes in a shad tank.
Yeah, it was a badass boat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm. Well, let's move on.
I'm moving on. I can't.
I don't know what to talk about. Oh, I'm drinking a beer out of a SmackDown koozie in memory of SmackDown not being at Catfish Conference. I don't know that I read on Facebook that there was a bunch of drama. I didn't even know this was a thing. I don't know the details, so I'd like share the details, but I don't even know them. But they're not going to be there. It made me sad. So,
well, I'll tell you this: if you want to look for SmackDown products, you can go to the Tackle Bandit booth. They'll have some there.
Oh, gotcha.
There you go.
I guess if we don't have anything to talk about, I'll just do story time. This week, I caught a catfish so big.
Gather around, youngins.
I'm out of beer. Shit.
Has anybody ever hooked a fish, fought it to the boat, got it in the net, and then went to lift the net, and the net tears completely off the rim, and the fish falls back into the water?
Now, did it tear like all at once, or was it like plink, 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 plink?
Half of it tore at once, and then I just looked at it in disbelief of what just happened. And then the rest of it just tore. Like, it probably took 3 seconds to, like, what's my next move, guys? And then, so I thought it back to the boat.
No, it wasn't a question. It was leading into a story that actually happened to you
Yesterday.
That you bought a shitty net that can't hold up to the fish that you target.
Well, I mean, it's seen some fish, but not for too terribly long. But anyway, I fought it back to the boat, got the grips on it, and this is in like 2+ mile an hour current. Got the grips on it, went to lift it in the boat. It rips out of the grips back into the water. And then fought it all the way back, gripped it again, finally got it in the boat, and took a deep breath. It was just
so you caught the fish 3 times.
Essentially, yeah.
I got 3 70s today. It was only 1 fish. But...
Right. Tell you what, you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone, and I appreciate a net a lot now out of the boat. Especially because what?
Yeah, you sent me the pictures. I was like, it like literally ripped right under that little band. I was like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, just half of it rips, and I'm just like, huh. And then it twitches and just right.
I mean, I can see if it tore like down a side or you had like a hole in it, but I mean, it completely ripped off. Like, it nice and symmetrical all the way around. So, hey, what I'll just tell you, Spence, I know how you can fix that net.
Buy a new one?
No, mono's in the box.
Oh, yeah. Inside jokes aren't funny unless everybody understands it.
It's funny to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think 12-pound would probably hold it.
Yeah.
It would. Actually, honestly, it probably would.
So that's my story this week. Mike, have you even fished this week?
Man, I haven't. I haven't been able to get out. We had that one rainstorm come in that blowed out the river. Then we had this next one come in, and it's even worse. Like, I mean, I guess I could fish out of the parking lot of the boat ramp. I'm sure there may be some pushed up there. But
dude, that'd be a badass video.
Well, been years back, but there's another boat ramp that when a river got real high like it was, we were catching white bass standing on the road that goes to the parking lot. That's how far.
White bass are easy. Any jackass can catch.
But you know what I'm saying. We're matter of fact, I was casting next to the handicap parking sign. They were just stacked around that one year.
There's a reason for that.
When I think of handicaps, I think of white bass and guys who guide for white bass.
I don't guide for white bass. I'm just around when I'm guiding for whatever. It's a byproduct.
Well, in his defense, Spencer, I've never seen you pass up an opportunity to catch some.
Yeah,
They're my
hey.
guilty pleasure.
No, you see them hit the top of the water and strategies change.
I can't remember where we were fishing, but we were definitely catfishing. But we were running down this river, and all of a sudden we looked over to our right, just water just blowing up. And next thing I know, boat's taking a hard right. It's like, well, I guess we're gonna fish for them.
Yeah.
I can't help myself, man. And that makes me think of first time Brian and I fished together out of his boat, and he was all apologetic and shit, like, oh, sorry, we only caught 2 dozen like 1 to 3 pound white bass. Like, it was real slow. I'm like, dude, I had a fucking blast, man. Like, there's lots of days I go out and that's what I want. I want to catch 21 to 3 pound white bass, and it's going to be
But
awesome.
then the next time you came out, you experienced what I expect it to be like every time in the early spring or late fall, where it's like we could have
Where
made
you
4 videos that day.
You just take them to Pound Town for 4 hours
with the wipers mixed in too. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like picking away at 15 to 17-inch white bass. It was like big wiper, giant white bass, big wiper.
I hope
Yeah,
I'm going to be
problem.
around a
me
little bit
problem.
more this fall, so I hope to make it down. So to join in on that.
Well, I mean, we're talking late fall, then my priorities shift to walleyes, to where every cast is a walleye, a sauger, or a sawguy, and then the white bass and the wipers become byproducts of that type of thing. So
Whatever. Like, I'll haul my boat down and we'll catch some fish, and then we'll go run the river.
yeah. Bring your boat. I'm not putting the 2075 on the Missouri. You bring your boat and I'll hop on the Missouri and we'll catch a 98 pounder.
1, I'm bringing my boat. That's why I said I'm bringing my boat. 2, your boat would be just fine on the Missouri.
It would be fine until, if the water was high, and then I just found like a wing dam or a dike.
That's why you let the captain drive.
So you can pay the premium for the new lower unit, not me.
It'll be fine, Brian.
Just send it.
Just like fishing out of a kayak, man. It'll be fine.
What could go wrong?
As soon as you pull them out of the parking lot, they ain't new no more. You might as well put them to use.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the luxury with this one to flip it the following year. I mean, I could, but I just don't have the time for that.
Anything that works can break, and anything that breaks can be fixed. It's fine.
I don't know. I've had some vehicles. I've rode them into the dirt where they couldn't be fixed no more.
That's the whole point. It's just like a truck. Just fucking drive it till it's dead, and then you've already saved up enough money to buy a new one, type of thing.
Yeah, it's like Brian and boats.
Living your life in debt.
When do you get your new boat, Brian?
Well, I mean, I could have it by the end of April if my guide schedule wasn't so fucked till July. So
let me rephrase this. When are you getting your new boat, Brian?
I knew you were going to say that. Realistically, it'll probably be the end of June, beginning of July, before I'm going to take Danny up to Door County in Wisconsin for a week. So the hope is that I have that boat before July 5th, so that we can just take it up there and I can break in the 300 on Lake Michigan.
Gotcha. So you got a while to think about it. Is it already rigged in your mind?
Well, yeah. I mean, the difference between my last 2 or 3 new boats and this one is that one of my regular clients who's buying this current boat, I'm going to leave all my lithiums and the Tarova Quest on this boat, and they already have a little bass tracker or whatever with graphs. So my boat is already wired appropriately, like dedicated power and everything. So all it is for them is like a cut and splice their graphs to the new boat. Whereas with mine, it's going to be all new lithiums and the new trolling motor. So that's all going to have to be rigged. Whereas before my last Lund before this, I kept the lithiums and the trolling motor. So it was more of just like the cut and splice with the graph. So it'll take a little bit longer as far as rigging and stuff goes. But
do you, is there any reason somebody, or is there anything somebody should take into account if they want to get one of the Tarova quests?
I mean, it's a beast. Like, it weighs so much, but I mean, that's how all the brushless bow mounts are now.
Not the power poles.
I'll be right back.
Oh, well, I can't speak to it. I don't know. I know that the Garmin Force and the Kraken both weigh a ton. The Tarova and Altera and Ultrex weigh a ton with the brushless thing. But Minn Kota has always been bulletproof for me. And that's like, everyone's like, oh, you're a Garmin guy, but you won't run the Force or the Kraken or whatever. And it's like, I've seen nothing but for guys that run those full time, they've had some sort of issue. But with a Tarova, I've literally never had an issue unless I've created the issue myself, which I'm good with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because I've been running Minn Kotas, to your point, forever.
But
I've never.
Let Micah finish. There's no but, Spencer.
Not a quest. I've never ran a quest.
So get one.
It's just as bulletproof.
He's got. That's what I wanted to hear. Is it just as tough as
dude,
the old ones?
It's insane.
Because it's funny because I saw Catfish Dave had problems with his Garmin and I had problems with my Garmin, but you never seem to hear problems with, and so that made me wonder if the Tarovas switch over to brushless, if maybe they would also have problems, but it doesn't sound like they do.
No, it's the same unit. It's just so much more beefy. Like, they increase the width of the base itself because that unit has so much more power now.
And girth.
Right. So, and like the shaft, hey, dude, we're talking about girth.
Shaft. Increased girth, bigger unit.
Shaft, I mean.
That's right.
Where can I buy one?
Yeah. We could all use a couple more inches on the shaft. I run a 72 on mine, baby. From 60 to 72. But yes, paired with lithiums, you could run that thing for 2 days probably on the Missouri River and not have to charge your batteries, which says a lot. Like, for me, I could run mine for 4 or 5 days on a lake in the wind and not have to plug it in.
Right.
And like, it helps to have lithiums with a Bluetooth capability so you can just look at your phone and see where you're at.
Right.
But yeah, to say that you could run a 112, I feel like they changed it. It's like 115.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it's a 115.
Yeah.
115
Missouri in 5, 6, 7 mile an hour current on a 36 volt system. That's a nice thing too about the new brushless or the Quest, is that there's no 24 volt or 36 volt model. It's all in the same. So whether you want to run 80 pound 24 or 113 or 115 36 volt, it's plug and play. There's no, you have to buy one or the other based on how many batteries you're going to connect. So that's the nice thing about them too. I'm not even sponsored by Minn Kota. I just, it's like, it's been bulletproof. I'll support them if they want to sponsor me. Holler at me. But
I legit I was trolling down river on the Mississippi and hit a stump going 3 mile an hour with the current. And I watched, like, I felt the boat move 3 feet forward and ricochet back. And it was
with
fine.
your bow mount?
With my bow mount.
Like you were bumping?
No, I was just,
you're just going.
I don't even remember what I was doing. Just maybe just cruising with the trolling motor, not paying attention, like soaking up the day. Like, there was no functionality to what I was doing. I was just doing it.
Just going.
Not well.
Yeah.
Well, Scott brought up a good point. He says it's probably user error.
No, he didn't. Scott, don't bring up good points. No, most of my problems are user error for sure. But so I need things that are very simple because I'm simple-minded and for the most part bulletproof. And the old Tarovas have been. I just wanted to hear if the new ones were, and if it was bulletproof, if it was good enough to make up for the extra 40 pounds it weighs or 50 pounds it weighs or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've ran mine since March of last year, or March of 20. No, yeah, it was March of 24, like right after they came out or whatever. And I've been running the same one. And then this one will go to the next person that buys my current boat, and then I'll buy a new one. But yeah, I mean, I have nothing but good things to say. That's just like all my other Minn Kotas that have been bulletproof. And if anything has ever gone wrong, it's because I cracked a shaft, because I hit a stump from being stupid, or well, on the old models there was like a little collar that would lock into the base, and if you hit a stump the shaft wouldn't crack, but the first piece to give out would be that little plastic collar, which is like $2.50 on eBay, but you have to take the head of the trolling motor off and everything and then slide that thing back down. But they've redesigned the whole entire thing now. So it's like you don't have to worry about the coil or the wire coil twisting around the shaft, because they have this new thing that attaches from the coil to the shaft to where it literally can't spin. And just like the Force, the trolling motor will not spin a full 360. It'll go 180 and stop, and then you have to spin it back, or it will spin back. But it does not have a like reverse like the Kraken does. Like you can still jog with the Minn Kota, like 5 feet back, 5 feet forward, left, right. But I know
I don't jog, man.
You don't jog even when you're bumping? Well, no, that would be stupid
land.
when you're bumping, because you would just be pushing the jog button the whole time.
Yeah, no jogging for me on the water or off the water.
Just deadlifts, just getting yoked, staying yoked.
Deadlifts, and I like my bench press, man, and squats.
Probably never missed a leg day neither.
No. As much as I like to lift weights, you think I'd be bigger. I'm just a disappointment.
I mean, genetics has a lot to do with it. Even though your brother's a freaking mountain of a man.
You're just making me feel worse.
I mean, he got the good genetics. What can I say?
Yeah, he got all the
brother
genetics.
that all the time.
Adam brought up a good point. The only problem I ever had with the Tarova wasn't the Tarova's problem. My dog sat on the remote and turned spot lock off while I was unbeknownst to me, and I just start floating downriver with lines out. I'm like, oh.
That's why I never leave the foot pedal out too. That's why I like the Tarova too, because you can unplug the foot pedal from the unit itself and put it away. Whereas like the Ultrex, it's just there. And if I have 2 clients in the front of the boat, it's a literal guarantee that you have $100,000. You're going to step on it, and then somebody gets thrown out of the boat, or we're just like 60 yards that way by the time I look up, and I'm like, fuck, what the hell?
I did not see that coming. I might end up getting an Ultrex. I haven't made up my mind. I like the cord lift too. The only thing for me is the weight, because the boat I'm getting is already pretty weight heavy up front, and adding 100 pounds instead of 50 pounds is quite a bit of a difference. So,
well, that is like the only downside to the previous model, the pre-brushless Tarova versus the brushless, is that the pre-brushless Tarova had a lift assist, so it was kind of like a spring, like a tape measure type system built inside of it. So when you pop that button on the unit, or whatever, that lever on the unit, it would literally like spring almost upwards so that you could stow it easier. But with the new ones, it doesn't have that. So yeah, you're lifting the whole entire thing. But
maybe that's the key to getting big shoulders.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know why this turned into like, Spencer is so ripped and this is why he should have a Quest. You don't need to pull that. Why would you ever need the cable steer of an Ultrex?
No, I'm talking about the cable where you lift it to put it in the water. The deployment
That's a dumb
cable.
reason just to buy an Ultrex, because that the foot pedal would just be there the whole time. It's like for the amount of time you spend in the front of the boat, which is like nothing unless you're casting for bait or shooshing around the cast net, the Ultrex pedal and the cable itself would just get in the way while you're up there doing it.
I mean, I'm up front cast netting for shad quite often, and being hands-free would be kind of nice, especially if I have my live scope or whatever hooked up to the barrel on my trolling motor. And then
but I'm just giving you my opinion of
the opinions are good, and I'm explaining why I'm leaning that direction. So I like the cable lift.
Explaining why I think you are slow.
We don't have enough time for me to tell Brian why I think he's slow. But yeah, so running the foot pedal for crappies, running the foot pedal for shads, running it for white bass and stuff like that. I think that has practicality.
Yeah, because I mean it's easier to have both hands on the cast net, 1 foot on the foot pedal versus trying to like maneuver the pole, like your sea light pole.
And run the remote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. So trying to reduce all that stuff, but I'll probably just destroy the foot pedal because it's going to have water leaking on it all the time from the cast net, but whatever.
That's the only thing I've heard with Ultrex is, granted, that was like, I haven't really heard many bad things about the brushless Ultrex, but the prior model was something would happen with the foot pedal, like to where, like the bass guys, that was always like the big thing. And they would always have a foot pedal.
The button that you stand on to engage the motor, that would go out.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I definitely heard. Now I don't know about the new ones like you said, but I know when Ultrex came out, and then even a few years afterwards, that was one of the bigger issues. Like you go to hit the power button and it's like it ain't doing nothing.
You're just stuck in neutral.
Yeah.
On a more fun note, James Scott says, when will we see a Bauer Tasler Burkhart tournament? And Andres says he's got $20 on Micah. And I will quadruple down and take that 20 and put 80 on me because I think I'm going to dominate that.
Okay.
Yeah, but where would it be though?
Yeah.
Would we
Small
want to do it?
Iowa.
How about the Des Moines River?
Oh shit, you're screwed.
Give me a shot.
I feel like neutral territory would be more entertaining.
Yeah, but what are we gonna do? Set up on a wing dike?
We'd all be in our own boats.
Oh,
you could go like
Virginia,
like Bugs Island area, like Adam Cook type area. You know what I mean?
Bugs Island is not small water.
It doesn't. No, that's what. If you're talking about neutral ground, it doesn't have to be small water.
Well, for Ryan's boat, it kind of does. Unless you're going to loan him
that's his fucking problem, not yours.
Just loan him the new.
Overcome you, pussy.
Just loan him the new Lund.
Yeah. Now
I think I'm gonna buy back my old Lunds just so I got a bigger water vessel.
There you
I
go.
love
Now
that.
Would there be a pre-fishing period?
I don't care.
Yeah, my first 4 hours of my tournament would be free.
That's how you win tournaments, though. Don't fucking pre-fish it for 2 weeks. Just go
I mean, you guys can do whatever the hell you want. I'm still gonna beat your ass anyway. So
okay, well now we need to figure out a location and time because I'm up for that challenge.
Spencer is going to have a neutral location that he bought a house at 2 months ago.
Yeah, right.
His fifth one.
The videos are coming up. I've been saving them.
We can just stay at my house, guys. It's a new location.
Hey, Spencer, it would be really cool? Chanman Central, Red River in Manitoba. That's a small, that's not a huge river. Giant
that would be
fucking
cool.
channel cat.
That would be cool.
And that would be a great excuse for me to go up there because I've always found excuses not to when I should be finding an excuse to go up there.
Yeah, for sure. Like your small fish of the day is like 13 3/4 pounds. Channel.
Right.
Yeah, even in North Dakota, my brother went up there and caught several over 30, like daily.
That's
Now, see,
crazy.
I'll chase those channel cats.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's
That
why
would
I go
make-
ice fish with Josh at that stupid lake here in Kansas, Spencer, because those channel cats that we're catching through the ice are between 20 and 25 pounds, and your small fish is like 16.
I've seen them, man. That's nuts.
Like, granted, it's a grind unless you're fucking Josh PP. Everyone else, just like me and Jordan, just
See,
like,
that's a bet I wouldn't make. I would never bet Josh in an ice fishing channel cat competition because I've seen that man go to work and it's amazing.
yeah. It is
Like-
fun though. I mean, I'm glad that he finally bought a 8-inch or 10-inch. I can't remember if it was like a 10-inch, but yeah, when we were up there last month in January, we needed it because we had two over between 22 and 23 and a half or something. I didn't catch them, obviously, but on a 36-inch ice rod.
There's
20-pound
definitely
braid.
so the two types of catfishing where I'd say the knack goes beyond location and presentation, but in how you work your bait are bumping and ice fishing channel cats, because you could be bumping two people doing the exact same thing and one person catches all the fish because they can work the bait more effectively.
I have
And
proven
then-
that.
Yeah.
That'd be me too.
If you do it long enough, you run into it. Like I don't get outfished that much in my boat walking baits, but when I hop into Jason Schneiderhand's boat, he just whoops my ass, and it's like, how do you do this? But he's freaking good at it. And some people just got that knack, and Josh has got that knack with the ice channel cats, and I've seen it a few times. It's impressive.
Well, and I mean, honestly, like, yes, we did it with Vexilars before, but then once LiveScope came in, and this is just from like a getting in the area where you're marking fish type of thing. That's so hard to do with channels because they're not just sitting still.
They
It's like
roam.
we're fishing a giant rock bar and they're just slowly just moving around, and like you have to be in an area where they're coming through, and obviously with LiveScope it's easier to know and see
To find
which
the
direction
highway.
they're coming from.
Yeah.
Well, and
But
I
with
think
the
even
Vexilar, it's like you're sitting there with your dick in your hand just waiting until you see another red mark come up off the bottom, and it's like
But
same thing. You just
even then though, like the live scope lets you ID the fish more effectively. Like on the Vexilars, you weren't positive. Like you might assume it's a catfish based on how big the red mark is, but you didn't ever really know for sure. And like you work your cadence for a walleye is way different than your cadence for a channel cat or a hybrid or a white bass or a crappie. Like catfish
giant shad at that lake that we're talking about, because shad would come through and you'd be like, oh my God, it's a big school of channels. And it's literally just 13-inch shad. And you're like, why won't they do anything?
God, I would kill for that right now. I
A
would have
shad
done
bite or just being able to get a 13-inch shad.
just being able to get a 13-inch
Yeah.
shad, man. I would have done
Old
disgusting things when we went down south on that camping trip for a cooler full of 13-inch shad.
Oh, did you bring me one?
Oh, we have delivery over there.
Oh.
It's
Can you
not
bring me a
pizza.
beer from the garage?
I tell you what, the pizza delivery was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
That
that's
doesn't
pretty
happen
clutch.
very often.
I don't. Well, probably.
Well, you're not
done
very
soon.
nice very often. You must have been nice today.
I am.
Andres asks about finding fish on live scope buried in the mud. Can you see them?
I don't.
And the answer is not really.
So they
If they're
raise
moving,
their head.
we've seen that. They're moving along the bottom like that.
I've seen them moving along the bottom, but that doesn't mean they're on the bottom. They're close to it. Like there's still that separation, that space on the bottom where you don't see them.
Are we talking about on LiveScope or a Vexilar?
Live scope.
Live scope.
Yeah.
So if
And it's
they're
pretty cool when they just pop out of nowhere.
yeah, I mean, well, it adds to the
That's how
surprise
walleyes are too.
for
Sometimes
sure.
it's crazy.
Spencer's pretty good at catching a cast net full of chans. Yes, I am.
Ones that are like this big.
Yeah, the perfect ones.
Yeah. The ones you
Or
think
gar.
are a school
What
of
about
13
gar?
inch.
How
Yeah.
good are you? How good are you at getting gar in your cast net and wrecking the whole thing?
I haven't wrecked a cast net with gar for a while because all the gar I've caught the last few months have been giants. So when you get them in the net, you just shake the net and they come out. I did do a really good job of throwing my net on a stump 2 days ago.
You nailed it.
I couldn't get it out with the motor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had to cut it off. I was pretty pissed. That was a $180 net. Goodbye.
Were you not live? Did you not have live scope down? Could you not see the freaking stump there?
No, I had live scope, but again, that's the downfall of the narrow cone of the active target is you miss those things. So I was swinging the pole around and saw some shad and threw on them. And as the boat moved, right as the net like enclosed around the stump, I'm like, oh, there it is.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I know the feeling.
I mean, anybody who throws a net long enough, you're going to know the feeling. But I will say live scope has saved me many nets. Like that one, well, that one didn't last that long. That was only like a 2-month-old one, but I got one in the boat and I'm probably jinxing myself right now.
Yeah, it's gone tomorrow.
It's 2.5 months old, but yeah, it'll probably die. Well, I'm going to that conference tomorrow, so it'll probably be gone Monday. So in essence, live scope is best utilized for getting bait and seeing fish inside structure. I mean, the best live scope is best for seeing fish in open water. Like anytime you have other stuff that can impair what you see and what it's best for. I mean, it's from a catfishing perspective. I don't think it's being utilized the best that it can be. I know there's supposedly a couple dudes in Texas that are just whooping everyone's asses in tournaments with live scope right now for flatheads mostly.
Wow.
Which
that's weird. That's weird because I heard the opposite for blues here in Kansas. There's like 2 guys. One of them is like an ex-crappie tournament swinging dick that has just, I guess he got tired of like the crappie tournament scene, and now he's doing blue cats on Perry, just right by my house. He's got like a custom rod, kind of like it's almost like a bumping rod with like a bait caster, but
yeah,
he's literally live scoping individual fish, and they weighed a pretty respectable sack. I think it was like August or September or something of last year. I can't remember which tournament. It was like a weird, that William Pranker guy. I think that tournament he was putting on.
My hang up with catfishing with live scope is it going to help me catch more and bigger fish than I would without it?
Right.
And
totally.
There's not been very many situations that I've found where I would say, yes, it will. And Jared's like, is live scope worth it on a shallow river for catching bait? Yes. Outside of that for catfishing, maybe. I haven't figured it out. So, but maybe you will. And then is side scan even worth it in shallow rivers? 1,000,000% yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, it's even cooler because you see a 40-pound flathead on side imaging that's 40 feet away, and it looks like a giant rice pellet glued to the bottom. It's pretty neat, especially when you get them to bite.
Right. And that's like same for me in Green Bay. Like when I go for walleyes, just to draw the comparison, when I'm fishing 2 to 5 to 6 feet of water, I'm not using live scope. And if I am, it's perspective mode, you know, from up above. So that would be like landscape, I think, for active target, where side imaging is invaluable to just like create a breadcrumb trail of numbers from pods of fish that I've marked, and then set up a drift, and you're casting right through them, type of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine fishing big water without electronics. And that's one thing I've enjoyed spending time on big waters. It's forced me to get better at using the electronics and then transferring that to smaller water. It's like, wow, I catch a lot more fish on smaller water than I did before. Joel, just like us when we went down south, Micah, like the conditions we were fishing in years past when I'd been there, those had traditionally been like the toughest conditions. And we caught plenty of fish and had a great time. So it makes me wonder, like, well, when it's good, you know, how many more am I going to catch just because I'm better at reading a fish finder?
Well, we may have to find out.
I mean, I hope so.
Well, and okay, so here's another question to pose from the catfish side of things. So when we're talking about like reservoirs here in Kansas that are 6,000 to 8,000 acres or whatever.
Oh, bullhead. Bullhead. Take a drink.
When you're talking about can you target or catch more fish with or without live scope or whatever, what if it was a situation where it's like, okay, so you're targeting these individual fish in a small area where there may not even be a high spot or a river channel break. It's just like a random group of fish that are just coming in and out based on bait fish. Do you think that you would catch more with a spread of planer boards, slow drifting, or slow trolling, assuming there's no wind, or drifting through that, assuming that there's wind, or being able to snipe those fish individually with live scope?
I have my thoughts. I'm going to go grab a beer. Micah, Ryan.
Yeah, Micah, you go ahead. I mean, you're more
Okay,
apt
so-
with water than I am.
Okay, so when it comes to that, now I can't speak on the live scope side of things because I don't have it quite yet. I'll have it whenever my boat shows up. But as far as, well, what you just said, I find it not even so much drifting because of it now, or say drifting, dragging is more or less what I do. So when I do that, it's when the fish are just scattered. They're not really, there's no rhyme or reason why they're there. They're just flat on the bottom. They're just hanging out. Now, in your instance you're talking about, I would post up on where fish want to be. So they could be moving off, like just kind of cruising maybe, and then they may decide to pull back up where they're fishing or where they're feeding, and that's where I'll sit and wait for them to come back up, and that has actually produced way more fish than say for me than say dragging baits. But now on the live scope things, you would almost have to wait for them to come back up, or would you, or I guess in what you're talking about, chase them around, which I don't know if that would be a good, because the fish that pulls off where they're feeding, they're not eating. Now, I'm not saying you can't get them to eat, but if you get to where they want to be and just kind of hang out, live scope would work for sure when they come back up. But I mean, why not just sit there with baits already out? So when they come back up, So, but as far as live scope thing, man, that's outside of my realm. But I do know being where they want to be is obviously going to be key.
Yeah, and right place, right time. To your point, because I've been on the same lake that I was referring to before, just with my wife, like during the summer, out in Spaceland, just we'll call it like the basin of a reservoir. Like not near the river channel, not near a flat, just out in a basin. Had live scope down because I was marking fish on down imaging and traditional sonar. And I'm like, what the hell are these fish? Like, there's no wipers in here. There's no walleyes, whatever. Put live scope down and then see these fish. We're talking about suspended over 50 foot of water, and they're suspended in small groups, just kind of here or there. And they were all blues. And I was just like dropping jigging baits down to them. What do you think they would come up and do anything? No. But I'm like, those are blues. So then you factor into what these guys are doing in tournaments with live scope, and they've got some big slab spoon or something with a big chunk of crappie or white bass or shad on it. And like, you could probably get those fish to go, or at least nose up to it and just like, just lick it or something and just barely get their mouth around the treble hook and
let the 8/0 treble hook do the rest.
Yeah. I find it fascinating because, like I said, I've seen them and I've fished for them, but I mean, I would never do it. But then to go back to like what we were talking about with live scope through the ice, it's the same thing, except those fish are on the bottom and they're channeled versus what I'm talking about, they're blues. So
yeah.
So
well, I know just real quick, I know from my experience, if you find a bunch of blues like that, say in Spencer, we'll even go back to that time we were live scoping flatheads. So all the fish we saw in the middle of the water column, we couldn't get them to eat. I mean, they just wouldn't eat.
Are you talking about suspended flathead?
Yeah, but I'm not saying they wouldn't have ate, but we actually fished for them, they wouldn't eat. But I know out here where I fish, if you see fish that are kind of in that, we'll say we're over 30 foot, they're hanging out 15 foot. Those fish are just cruising. They're not really, they're just hanging out, not really doing much. Now, not saying you couldn't suspend a bait, possibly catch one, but then that's when you would kind of look where
like every fish we caught was suspended
off the bottom, like barely off the bottom.
We caught fish that were like 8 feet under the surface.
No, we didn't. They all came off, if you remember.
Well, they bit. Then we didn't hook them, but that was a hook problem, not a getting them.
I'm talking about catching, Spence, not sitting there having them bite, because if it's going to be in their face, they're going to hit it. But how aggressive they're going to be? That's probably one of the reasons why we lost so many fish that day.
They were aggressive the day before. The two that I caught were like 10 feet freaking below the surface.
Yeah, because you caught them in a net.
No, the ones that did,
they were 10 feet down and 12 feet of water.
And I put them in the boat. No, I think the biggest thing with live scope, the biggest limiting factor is bait presentation. So if you're on a river or on a lake with no current, you could, if you're on a shallow flat, you could put it in perspective mode and throw a free line chunk of cut bait and lead fish like they're damn redfish, and then be able to pick and choose them based on the size you want and chase them around all day. I think that's an option. That's something I'm going to play with. Or if you're in deeper water, you can get on them vertical, like if you were ice fishing. But the downfall is if it's windy and you're vertical and your bait's going up and down because of the waves, they don't like that shit. They like a stationary bait. And then if you're in current, most of your presentations are straight behind the boat. And generally
current is out in this conversation. I guess that's like, I forgot to lead with that point, is like, we're just talking about lakes or reservoirs or whatever, where there's no moving water. So yeah, river would be tough, because I've had lots of clients that catfish ask me how they might utilize it in a river situation. And perspective mode or landscape mode was the only parallel that I could draw that would do them well. But at the same time, you're side imaging those fish, getting up ahead of them, and then anchoring. And then you know that they're on the starboard side and port side of your boat, and you're just getting a spread out there and assuming that you're either landing right on them or your baits are going to draw them over to it.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing. I'm not a catfish guy. I'm trying.
Yeah, that's usually plan A.
It's
fish, scatter the area with bait.
It's the whole using perspective in shallower water is something I need to play with more. And now's really the time to do it. We should have done it during that tournament, but I hate experimenting during a tournament. So I'll get around to it though.
Well, that's okay. I've been messing with it up until before we got all this rain, but I've been messing with it. I'm going to mess with it again next week.
With live
fishing
scope?
in shallow water. Well, not live scope, but fishing shallow, but going shallow.
Gotcha.
I found an awesome flat, man. So I'm going to figure it out.
It's about time.
Yeah.
They're not just in the ditch.
Well, I was using my trolling motor as a power pole, so that's how shallow it was.
I get behind that.
It's a great power pole. They got great skegs on them to just right down in them.
Yeah. A couple times I was able to use my big motor as a power pole.
Mm-hmm.
I went fishing with Brad the other day, and we didn't catch a damn thing, but there was a couple spots where we pulled up and he dropped his motor down into the mud as a power pole. It was kind of funny. Well, hey boys, let's do the last cast, which is your chance to talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about before we leave. Who wants to go first?
Everybody.
Okay, I guess I will.
Yeah.
First thing, thanks everybody who took the time to listen. Like the more of these we do, the more it reminds me of how much I enjoy doing them. And I will find a way to do them when I'm sitting around a campfire, but StreamYard, as far as I know, doesn't have an app or anything. But if anybody is aware of such things, feel free to shoot me a Facebook message, enlighten me. I like to learn. So, but that's something I'm gonna work on figuring out just to make these things more regular, because as it gets warmer, I'm gonna be doing more camping and stuff like that. And I think it'd be pretty cool to do one around a campfire. I think that'd be neat. But yeah, thanks to you guys for hopping on board. This will not be the last time we're all together, and I hope we can make the river float work. I think that would be a darn good time.
Yeah,
I think it would too.
I would travel a very long distance to make that happen.
I saw your face, Brian. It would be a good time.
You know that I would be there if I had the time. So,
well, start thinking about August.
I'm always there for you as your shuttle when you need me to. So why wouldn't I be there to just hang out and not have some, shuttle situation?
Start thinking about
you only call me when you need me.
Start thinking about a time in August. Brian, August or September. Start thinking about where you want to put 2 days.
I have nothing but time in August and September because I fucking hate fishing for everything in August and September. For what?
Perfect. We're catfishing. It's done.
That's right.
We figured it out.
Right. That's why I have so much time for you when you need me.
You had guide trips when I came down every time. I wanted you to go.
Daddy's still got to make a paycheck, and I'm willing to go and rail on 200 white bass. And
doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah.
I love it because they're great bait. So
I will never not have bait for you. I've never failed you on the bait front.
It's appreciated.
Big one.
So anyway,
remember
Chris? Figure out a time.
Christ, these white bass are huge.
We'll figure out a time in August or September where we can go float the river. And your rivers are sweet because you can catch 100-pounder pretty much anytime they could pop up. So
who's gonna rescue me when I set the hook into that 100-pounder and then I fall out of the fucking kayak? Micah, will you help me?
Brian, it'll be fine.
It's all right.
Hey, I'll be swimming right with you, Brian. I'll be swimming right with you, Brian.
Everything will be fine.
Nothing else matters as long as the fish is landed. If I lose the fish, then
shit gets real.
Yeah. Then I'll just let you keep floating downriver.
That's right. Exactly.
And it'll be fine.
Think about what you've done.
Pick me up at the confluence before I hit the Missouri.
If you fall out of the kayak on that river, just stand up. You'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, totally. I can just hitch a ride with a turtle, a soft shell turtle, long boy.
Oh, I'll find plenty of them, I promise.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them there, I promise.
And that's how legends are made. The story of Brian floating off into the sunlight on the back of a soft-shell turtle.
I can see the video now.
All right, so if you're going to Catfish Conference, I'm leaving tomorrow. Swing by, say hi Friday. I'll be at the Catch Fever booth. I'll be at Destination Unknown Outdoors, and I'll probably also just be walking around. So say hi. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching. What do you got?
Mike, you're at the Catfish Conference too?
What's that?
Mike is going to be the Catfish Conference too?
Yeah, at 74 booths. So
yeah,
he's
I'll be
Walker, Texas Ranger. Like he's always watching you.
So if you want to have a conversation with Micah, you got to start at one booth, follow him to the next booth.
yeah. But I'll be so we kind of touched on what I want to talk about. I am giving a seminar on Saturday. I think it's at 10:30. We kind of touched on bait. Huh?
Heckling encouraged.
I'll be disappointed if you don't.
Sure. But we touched on, because there's going to be a lot of people talking about how to catch fish, how to locate big fish out of this stuff. I'm going to break it down to the basics. I'm going to talk about bait and bait presentation. That's going to be key. It's what I'm going to do. It ought to be. I think in my head it's interesting. It may not be. I don't know. So swing by when I'm doing that seminar, and I don't know, maybe because it'll be a Q&A afterwards, which what I'm going to love the most, because I like to know feedback from, maybe whatever something stupid I said or didn't cover. So swing on and watch that. And if, other than that, yeah, I'll be in probably every booth out there. So
I'll
swing by
have
and see
plenty
me.
of feedback for you, Micah.
Well, you're going to be part of that, what I'm talking about. So be careful.
Oh shit! All right. Well, I'm looking forward to the seminar. I kind of forgot that you were giving one, so I'm glad you brought it up. I would have brought it up earlier if I would have remembered, but I'm looking forward to that. And there's several that I'm pretty excited about sitting in.
Yeah, there's going to be some great speakers there.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday at 10:30, come see Micah.
I think it's 10:30, somewhere around there.
Ish, 10:30 ish.
You won't miss my southern accent, so you'll be all right.
Yeah, or the beard.
That
Might look,
you may miss me on
you.
stage because I'm not tall enough, but
If you don't see him, just look down. Ryan, what do you got, bud?
Oh, I had a blast like always, guys. I don't have much. This weekend is state wrestling. Our kids just started tonight, and before the podcast kicked off, my hometown was 2 for 3. So we had
How
six,
many
we had
qualifiers?
6 qualifiers this year.
How many?
6.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to start paying attention.
Yeah. And the 6-pounder came out and pinned his kid in like 45 seconds. And then we had one run into a buzzsaw, and then the third one had won a major. So I'm going to look up what the other 3 did here as soon as I get off. But so we got a big week of wrestling. Then Iowa wrestles Okie State on Sunday. So I'm going to Iowa City and watch number 2 against number 3 in the nation. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Same.
But other than that, just been ice fishing a little bit. The ice is crappy because we had a thaw, which honeycombed all the good ice, and then ice built on top of it. So you get slush pockets, and it's not very safe, but
Gross.
I'm still out there. Last Sunday, I went to that lake down south that me and you went to, and couldn't get out to the brush piles, but I fished that bay right by the brush piles on maybe 3 inches of ice. I fished there for 6 hours, and my 2 holes became 1 with my heater. So, but I caught 6 walleye and about 45 bluegill. So it was a good time.
That trips me out.
Yeah.
Good for you, bud.
It wasn't great, but we made her happen.
All right. Uncle Brian, what's your send off?
I don't have a send off, man. I wish I was doing more right now, but I've ran like 6 guide trips since January 1st because of all the weather, and I don't do much ice fishing. I don't trust these reservoirs around here, and I'm just not that mad at the fish. So I've just been hanging out with the family.
Should come down here and crush some white bass.
Nah, I think I'd rather not. I don't think
it is important to remind the family who you are once in a while, and then all of a sudden you just disappear for months at a time.
Yeah, because once we come out of this hellhole of negative temperatures, my schedule is balls to the wall, and I mean, it's like I can't see my temperature thing right now, but I definitely know it's below 0. And then on Sunday, it's supposed to be like 52. And then we're going to be in the 50s, almost 60s into next week. So it's going to be, we're going to be in shorts and a t-shirt, but the lakes are still going to have 6 inches of ice, and I'm still SOL. So we're going to be running trips to the power plant on the warm water. It's been so cold that I'm certain that the boat ramp at the power plant is frozen 20 or 30 yards out, which that's how you know it's fucking cold.
Yeah.
when the warm water lake boat ramp freezes. So meantime, like I said at the beginning, just been spending the last 2 days redesigning my website and trying to keep a level head. That's one thing this year I'm going to try and do more promotion of, is always check on your friends. Men's mental health has always been a huge thing the last couple of years, and with my dad passing last year and just coming off of 2 days since the 1-year anniversary, and not guiding, not being on the lake every day. That's something that I go through too. So for anybody out there that's dealing with shit, make sure you go talk to someone, lean on your friends, your family. And for everybody that has a friend like that, always check on your buddies. And I'm happy to have you guys to do podcasts like this, since mine has not been the greatest the last 2 years, but I'm working on getting back there. So
when you do it,
trying to keep an even keel and focus on the future. Got a lot of big things coming down the pipe with the new boat, a busy schedule, one fun vacation for my wife and I, which we have not been able to do for the last 2 years, with a house purchase, my schedule, her schedule, my stepkids. So a lot of good things to look forward to. But yeah, right now it sucks. It does suck. I'm not special. A lot of people are going through it. But up north, at least, you get to sit in a snow bear or comfy heated shack and do some ice fishing. Down here, we just don't really get that opportunity. So we're kind of in that limbo, like Ryan was saying, safe ice, not safe ice. These reservoirs here are not super safe. And like I said, it's just not ideal ice fishing stuff. But all that was to say, a lot of good things coming. Spencer, I love you. Mike, it was good to talk to you for the first time. Tazler, always good to see you.
Yeah.
Shout out Drastic Plastics, because like 2 months ago he was coming out with like a new color and it wasn't for sale yet, and I commented on the post and I was like, ooh, I need that. And then like 2 weeks later I had a package at my door.
It's like magic. Just magic.
It was magic.
Scott's a good dude. He is awesome.
Yeah. It wasn't even my idea. Everything you just said made me think you definitely need to come down here and pound on some white bass, mean mouths, blue cats.
I'll take the mean mouse. I catch enough white bass up here, unless you have like 34-inch walleyes. That's kind of where I'm at.
You catch 22-inch
smallmouth.
I am into the smallmouth idea, but I'm just not a Southern guy. I'm just a stupid Yankee.
Me too.
Yeah,
I knew Micah would laugh.
Winter depression.
Like, that's fucking right.
All right, we'll wrap her up. Thanks for everybody taking time to listen. Hope you got a kick out of it. We had a blast, and hope you did too. And see you same time, same place next week, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I guess RC Live Podcast.
Hey.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Yep. Thanks, guys.